Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story how Facebook kept me or saved me from getting fatter, along with all those horrible people that tagged me on Facebook. So I know that digitalization, which is YouTube and creator videos, and globalization, meaning social networking and the internet, has bridged the gap for all 7 continents of the world, and it created this crazy obsession for videos and photos. But listen, do you really have to send my picture after I get married and I gain 60 pounds? Do you have to send my fat ass and all those pictures, like 100 of them, to everybody in the world? I don't need Asia knowing I gained 60 pounds. And listen, if you want to tag me, at least have the common decency to ask for my permission. You know what? I'm going to create a waiver. For anyone that wants to tag me, ask me if I like the photo. And then I'll say, yes, I like that one. That one's a lie. I look thinner. And I'll grant you permission, but please don't tag me. And that's why Facebook created an option called what? Untagging. And you're lucky that they did that. Because if I couldn't untag myself, I would kill people. But I know everyone here has pictures of themselves, probably many that you usually burn or delete out of your life. But I'm sure everyone here, I want you to look at the person to your left and right and ask them, are you vain? And you know, the answer will be yes, I am vain. Because let me tell you, no matter how much someone wants to deny it in this room, I will let you know right now that everybody, I mean everybody, no matter how ugly you are or how good looking you are, you have one picture that you just love. You want to use that picture for everything. Because you know that in that picture, which is a total illusion and a deception, it's just the right light for your chin. It hides all the weak areas of your body. And it insinuates all your best features. And you know what? I have plenty of these photos. And you know what? You can tag these. I give you full permission to tag these photos of me to any parts of the world. But please, everybody knows, just like that, that that's really the story of what? Humanity. We want to hide all those photos of us that expose our flaws, our weaknesses. And we want to present to the world the photo or the image of us without those flaws, attenuated in our strengths. And we want the world to see, really, in a sense, a deception. You know? Am I talking to just me, or does that apply to you? Yeah, crickets in them. Seriously. And here is the problem with the story of humanity. No matter how hard, there is a cultural lie. And it's called, there's a psychology for it, it's perfectionism. You think that if you work hard enough and discipline yourself hard enough, you literally can cut out all the weaknesses, all the flaws, and present a perfect version of yourself to the world, avoiding pain, hurt, and rejection. But here's the great tragedy of our human story. I think everyone here in this room is human, so this is your story. It's that the problem is everyone in this room has a clank in their armor. You know what the armor is? You're a human. Therefore, you cannot escape pain, hurt, and rejection, and the word F word, failure. How many people in this room like failure? Anyone? Enthusiastic about failure. How many people? Raise your hand. Say amen if you like failure. Like no? How many people like winning? Amen. How many people like being the man? Amen. Some people are really excited over there. You want to be strong, perfect, You want to really present a version of yourself that's flawless, but the problem is the truth behind the lie and the pressure not to fail is that because you're a human, you will fail. You're like, damn it, wrong message. Failure, the story of humanity is that it's inevitable. Failure is inevitable. It will happen. It will take place, and you cannot avoid it. And that's why, for a lot of us in this room, we fear it, and we'll do anything to try to escape it, but you can't. Because if you're honest, that pressure kills us. The pressure to be amazing. This is why, I mean, how many people saw the magazine with Demi Moore and the controversy of how they airbrushed parts of her body and made her thinner? This is why magazines airbrush their models. This is why guys exaggerate their stories. You you ever heard a guy tell a story about what kind of fish they caught? I exaggerate too. I caught a fish, and my fish literally was about this big. I said, dude, I caught a fish. And every time you tell the story, it gets larger. Right? And why do we do that? Why is that in us? Why can't we be honest that maybe we're not that awesome, and that we fear being exposed, being normal, and actually being exposed of all those flaws we try to hide in those photos? And here's the good news. That's why I love the gospel. How many people love the gospel? So some of you, that's bad. I love the gospel because the gospel in Greek means the good news. Why is it good news? It's good news because unlike any other view from history, the gospel meets us right at the epicenter, right between the eyes of this struggle. The fear of failure and failure itself. The Bible says, Paul says in Romans, while we were still sinners. You know what sinners mean? Tell someone, you're a sinner. You know what that means? Some people take being a sinner as a good thing. You're such a sinner. I tell my son, you're a sinner. He goes, I'm Nathan. You're a sinner. People take sinner as a good thing, like it's a devious thing. It's like, oh, you're crafty. Now listen, that's why I came up with the word. Sinner means effed upness. You are literally a messed up person. You're effed up. What does failure mean? A sinner means equivalent to failure. You have failed. Everyone has fallen short of the glory of God. Meaning, if you're a sinner, you failed. You will fail. You have failed. And that's the story the gospel meets us in. But here's the problem with salvation. Here's the problem with the gospel. And if we're honest, let's not play church. Let's be real honest with each other. Either you don't believe in Jesus, or you do. The gospel changing all of us inside out is always a conflicting problem and a dilemma. Why? Because who wants to be really saved here in this room? You want someone to save you? You know what? If you are in the condition to be saved, it means you are a failure, you are weak, you're not that smart, you're in need. So the problem with the gospel is, if we want to change us inside out, the conflict is, we need to be saved, but we really don't want to be. And even if you give your life to Christ out there, outside of this church, every single day, you struggle with that reality. You try to present a perfect self, but the gospel says, I save you when you F up. And you will F up. And that's the conflict. So, I want to destroy this illusion of perfectionism that the world shows us. Wants to mold us into these shapes of perfection and put together self. I want to just kill that and allow everyone here to be the filthy slob you are. And allow the gospel to powerfully penetrate our brokenness and weakness. Amen? So you ready for this? Alright, so let's look at this passage, Matthew 14. This is one of my favorite stories. And you know what? I love this story because I think it's funny how true, from a literary point of view, even if you're not a Christian, you need to listen to the story and question the credibility if this story actually happened. Because if you're really thinking about it logically, this story is kind of out there. Like, what if I came to you like from a retreat, and I say, guys, I walked on water. First you go, that's impossible physically, right? Just basic physics, you're too heavy. If it was Pastor Billy, possible. You know, you float on air a little bit. But you go, I mean, basic physics, this is impossible. In an empirical, scientific world, people don't walk on water in the middle of the night. Right? I mean, so you look at this story, and this is from the book of Matthew. So let's say you're not a Christian. Let's say you're not a believer in this room or listening on YouTube. You're not a Christian. You're investigating Christianity, but you're looking at the gospel. You know, people here at 180 have told you that the gospel has changed our life, that Jesus has changed our life, and you come to this story of, and you heard it, Peter walking on water. Jay-Z references it with Kanye and Diamonds Are Forever, right? And everybody knows that line. You know, he had to, you know, get out of the water so he can walk. What was it? I forget. Whatever. So people reference this thing. Jesus walked on water and Peter walked on water. So let's look at it from this point of view here. Okay, is it possible for anyone to really walk on water? I want you to be logical. Critical thinking here. No. It's not really believable. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I had a hard time believing this when I first read it. For some of you Christians, you know, you good Sunday school going PKs, you just, you know, believed it because, you know, it's in the Bible, and the Bible is the Word of God. So the Word of God declares it, it's true. Right? So here's from just the literary critic's point of view, why I think this story is just credible. Because, listen, Matthew tells a story about, what's his name? Who's the main protagonist of this story here? Peter, right? Now, Peter, historically, is the super leader of Christianity. Right? If you follow me, say amen. Shake your head, come on. Nod your head with me, okay? So, he is the super Christian apostle of Christianity. Matthew is written in 70 AD, meaning about 70 years after, or 40 years after the stories of Jesus. So, Peter is the leading catalyst for Christianity in his generation. So, the only reason Matthew writes this is because Peter preached about this story over and over again for 30 to 40 years. But here's the problem. Let me tell you. If you're going to tell a story about yourself, how many people like telling stories about themselves? Especially the stories of your awesomeness. I love telling stories about my awesomeness. You know, how I screwed people in ball. Right, guys? No. Yeah, amen. No, you know, or how I, you know, the last time we played basketball, you know, I won the game, being the old man I am with my broken knees. I shot a fadeaway on Tocher's face all the way to the end. You remember that? Or I like to tell stories that are more exaggerated. Why? Because I want to make myself look good. I want to cut out all the weak areas of my life. Like one time when I was invited to preach at one of the 50 largest churches in the United States, and I was there, and you know, it went great, and it was awesome, and it was like, you know, a big ordeal, right, in Cali. But I tell the story when I came back, y'all, a lot of people came to Christ, people loved me, people thought I was brilliant. Right? That part. But you know what happened? The reality? In the beginning, before a tremendous audience, right before I went on stage, I cut out the part of me tripping over some wires over thousands of people. Why would I want to tell that story about myself? I want to make myself look good. That's just dumb. If you want to impress people, you don't do that. Here's a story about Peter, the super apostle. Why does he tell a story about him not just walking on water? He could say, I snowboarded in water. You know, I jetted through water. I walked with Jesus. Why does he tell the story about him falling in? Saying that he was afraid to die because of the waves. From a literary point of view, that's not logical. Peter told the story because that's the heart of the gospel. God saves humanity. Amen? Peter tells this story. It's too human. It's too real. It's something like what I would do and you would do. From a literary, logical point of view, Muhammad tells a story about how he received the Quran from God. You know what Muhammad says? That everybody got, there are really great prophets out there, including Jesus, but somehow he was in the desert and he was the most pious person out there. And God decided to give the revelation of humanity, come down from heaven, meet Muhammad, and he gave him the Holy Quran. Now, when I listen to that story, I go, I would make that up too. If I was leading a cult, that's the story I would make up. No flaws, no weaknesses. But Peter here, from just a literary point of view, tells a story about his weakness. Why? That's the gospel of Jesus Christ. From the very narrative of the supernatural, of him walking on water, Peter tells a story of his weakness and how God saves him. Now, if you're an unbeliever and you listen to this story, you should think about that. Why would he do that? Maybe he actually met and this story really happened. And then it goes to the next question, who is this Jesus then? He might really be the Son of God. Okay, so watch this. I remember going to King Buffet one time. If you guys are here today, don't go there, but next time you come to Stand Down, go try King Buffet. King Buffet is my favorite Chinese buffet. And let me tell you right now, I'm an expert of Chinese food. By experience, especially. But listen, I visited most parts of the United States where they serve Chinese food. And I went to San Francisco, I went to, everywhere. King Buffet is the best Chinese buffet in the world. I want to assert that. That is not an opinion. That is an empirical fact. Okay? It's an empirical fact. Now, it's the best Chinese buffet, and it's here in Staten Island. That's why I stayed here. So, I went to, I love King Buffet, and I go to King Buffet all the time. And you know what? These places remind me, no matter how awesome I think I am, it humbles me to go to these eateries. And it just reminds me how human. And if you think I'm going to tell a story of how I fought with the manager or the owner, no. This is a surprise. This is one I never told before. I didn't fight with the owner. Now I'm very submissive to the owner. The guy wanted to kick me out. This is the best Chinese food, right? So I want to do that. But this time, I thought, I'm always, I struggle with thinking I'm too smart for my own good. So God humbles me at these places. So what happened was, I do have this problem, and it's like a chronic disease, I think, you get from childhood. I have a problem spilling soda. But this time in King Buffet, unlike other times, I think the most I ever did at King Buffet was like 3 or 4 times. But this time I only did it twice. Okay? I spilled it. The people there know me by now. Like, oh, Sam. Okay, they go clean it up. But this time, coming down from one of the seats, this really was the punchline of how God decided to humble me. I was coming down with my food. I sat down. It looked like my seat. And it looked like my food. So I sat down, started eating the food, because I swear to God, the food was exactly the same. The food was exactly the same. I picked up the fork and I started to eat the food, and I was like, oh, this is the life. And this Italian lady comes in, looks at me, and asks me in a very, I thought, very impolite, rude type of way. She said, what do you think you're doing? And usually when I'm provoked, I react. And I said, what the hell are you talking about, lady? And I drank my Diet Coke while she was there. And the funny thing was, it was Diet Coke. It really was Diet Coke. I drank it until I realized in the side view mirror, in my point of view, I saw a purse that's not mine. I realized that I sat one seat ahead where I was sitting, eating this lady's food, and drinking her soda. So when you experience this type of, what do you do? I sat there for a moment, asking myself, how the hell did I get here? I got up politely, and I said something that I normally never say. I'm sorry. And I went back to my seat in great defeat and mortification. And the lady was telling a friend, that kid is a moron. Stupid. What the hell is he doing? And my walk of shame. Okay, you're enjoying that a little too much, right? A little too much. Good. So I'm going over there and I'm sitting down. And I sit down and I'm in awe of my failure. After this type of failure, that's why I have no shame. Right? And if you want to transcend this idea that if you work hard enough, and if you discipline your heart hard enough, you work hard enough, and you do everything you can, you're not going to fail. Listen, the first lesson this passage teaches us, and what the gospel invites us to, so that the gospel can really save us. The need to be saved and the want to be saved. I know we resist it because we want to be awesome. What does the gospel invite us to overcome this type of, seductive lure of perfectionism that you think you can go with your life without failure? Well, first lesson we learned, this is what the gospel invites us to. It invites us to be real honest about our... See, the gospel wants to save us from our ego. That is our number one defenses of why the gospel does not change your life. So, I want you to look at someone and ask them the question, do you struggle with that? Now, so let's be honest here, we're family. Do you struggle with ego? Self-preservation? Do you struggle with the need to be awesome and not look like a moron? Peter struggled with that too, but he put that in the story because that's what the gospel first saves us from, our ego. It saves us from our want to be independent, our want to be strong, and to present ourselves to the world that's perfect and hide all our flaws. And that's why we have such a hard time the gospel changing our lives. And I'm going to ask you an honest question. The reason why you don't see too much power in your life is because we have too much pride. We don't want to be saved. We need to be saved, but we don't want to be saved. Peter told a story about how Jesus saved him. Today, I think is a day where you need to fall in the water. No matter how awesome you are. I know some of you guys are pretty bright, some good looking, not over there. But, but you're human. You want Jesus to save you inside and out. You've got to be real honest about your ego. Real honest about your weakness. I pray that the Spirit of God today, I know this is a soft spot for some people. That's why I like talking about it. It's fun for me. So, come on. If I could go through that at King Buffet, you could talk about it. You could, listen to this, all right? So, let's move on and talk about how Peter tells the story from his perspective and why I think the power of the gospel shows up so powerfully in his life. Okay? All right, so, can we close that door out there? So watch. So, then Peter got down out of the boat, walked in the water, and came toward Jesus. But what? Let's all read this together. But when he saw he was? Afraid. How many people here are afraid? And began to sin, cried out, Lord, save me. This is a pathetic picture of the great apostle. Can you imagine? Peter told this story over and over again for 30 years. Yeah, you know what happened? Yeah, I fell in the water. I said, Lord, save me. And everybody's just laughing at him. Lord, save me. And then he tells, immediately Jesus reached out his hand, caught him. You little faith, he said, why did you doubt? Do you think Jesus was like this? You freaking moron. Why the hell did you doubt? You don't think you could walk on water? Of course, Jesus knew that walking in water was impossible, and that he could die. This reminds me of a story of my relationship with many people on staff. And all the staff are like, what story is he going to tell? There's so many stories. But let me start with a couple. You know, how do you where is the opportunity to show someone that you actually really love them? Because if I love you in your awesomeness, if I could go to John, after he teaches a class in scholarship, and I go, John, what you taught today was brilliant. I love you. And and John would be like, okay, yeah, okay, great. But I love it when I love people, and I love, my relationship with guys and the staff, and I've mentored them for years. I love it when I get the opportunities to love them in the juicy, beautiful letdowns. When they just F up real bad. They think I'm mad, but when I get phone calls of these kind of failures, I'm like, yeah. Secretly I am drunken with glee. I'm just happy about it. Because, now I'm at a point where that is the opportunity to show someone that you really love them. And that's why when Pastor Billy calls me on the iPhone, I am nervous. When Pastor Billy goes to Manhattan, I am very, very nervous about the ride situation. Because, he's been to, don't want to count the accidents. One time he called me in 1 month twice about the accidents he got into. And when he calls me, I'm just like this. It's like, it's like prophetic. I know what happened. So I want to press ignore. But when he calls me, yeah, I got into an accident, Pastor Sam. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, it's okay. Because when Jesus saw Peter fall on that water, I don't think Jesus was like, you moron. I think he had a smile on his face and said, why'd you doubt? He loved him and helped him up, right? That's why last week, and the stories of Amnon, I'm going to make a movie with Amnon. You saw him, he took a deep breath. Oh, man. You see how God keeps our egos in check? So last week, the sound team and me and John were going early. We went to eat dim sum. So they park at a legal spot, and the van gets towed. Right before service starts. Now, you see, normally, most people would get upset at that and be like, what is wrong with you? Don't you read the lines or the sign? Don't you know that that's the dumb thing to do? When I got the call, John was there. I tell you the truth. John was like, what the hell is wrong with him? What is wrong with that? Huh? I was just like, dude. You know what? I was smiling at this news. I was like, no one could even write this story. You can't come up with this story. This is just life. It's just good. And he goes, yeah, they said, and then they said we could get it back for $222, right now. So I go to the ATM, withdraw $220, and I'm not mad, I'm just smiling. And I went over there, I said, John, I was saying, John, I think we should get ice cream with them to make them feel better. Does it make any sense to you that when someone messes up, I have to think of buying them ice cream so they don't feel bad their mistake? But that's what love is. That's what real love is. You can't love someone until they utterly fail. When you love people or like people in their success, that's not really love. It's easy to love people in their best. But when you love people in their mess, that's how you know if someone really loves you or not. And you see, that's the gospel story. For some of us, some of you know God loves you in your mind. Oh yeah, Jesus died for me on the cross, that's great. And there you're in everyday life trying to be perfect, trying to be together, trying to become somebody. But listen, you're never going to experience the amazing power that transformed Peter's life in his immense failure unless you come to God in great vulnerability and mess like Peter did. Are you ready for that? You're like, damn it. I don't like that, Pastor Sam, too bad. That's the gospel. So, how does the gospel invite us to transcend this deception and perfectionism, that you can protect yourself from failure? Well, last lesson we learned is what? The gospel invites us to become vulnerable in our... If you don't become vulnerable in your weakness, you're not going to be able to receive love. And that's why the gospel has not utterly changed your life, because you're still fighting God. You're still fighting the gospel. You don't want to be saved. You need to be saved, and you know it, but you don't want to be. The question I have for you today is, if you want the gospel to literally change you upside down, you're going to have to come in your weakness, not in your strength. Do you want that? I pray yes. Let's pray together. So let's stand. The pledge for the Founder House, if you're in all those other programs, was supposed to be last week. If you're here, put it in physically. Whatever you need to do, you can do a credit card on site. We have that, or you can put a check in the offering bucket in the back. But that's needed today because December 1st is coming next week. No, this coming week. So we're going to have to pay for the building. We want to thank you for all of you who've given generously to the building. It's an amazing thing that God's already doing. I think they're already making great memories at the office yesterday. Throwing flour at people, making pizza. I'm nervous at that, ruining the carpet. And when I find out whose idea that was, I will kill you. Whose idea was that? Another opportunity to love him. Okay, so do that, and right after service, I want you to try to leave as soon as you can, because we're all going to go to the new building today, and I think they ordered sandwiches already, and there's a minimum cost, but I want you to go all together today to just, remember and build an altar, and take some pictures, and remember that this is something that God has provided for us. So I want you to go there. Right after, we're going to leave. When I pray, I want you guys to go right after service and go there. Like literally when you get, don't even go to the bathroom. Just leave. Just get out of here. All right? So, in offering, we don't collect on site, but if you want to give, you can give it oneinthechurch.tv or in the back. So pray with me. God, we thank you for the gospel of Jesus Christ that saves us and changes us forever as we live in this life. Lord, we want to thank you for the building that you've given us and this family that is given to the building. We want to pray today that great memories will be built at this place. I pray, Father, more people would meet the person of Jesus Christ and be saved. We thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.